What the U.S. 82nd Airborne Division is and how it would operate in potential ground operations in Iran. The U.S. Army has positioned elements of the 82nd Airborne Division in the Middle East, placing up to 3,000 paratroopers on immediate standby for potential operations linked to tensions with Iran. Combined with forward-deployed Marine Expeditionary Units, this creates a rapid entry force capable of launching the initial phase of a joint ground operation on short notice. As the U.S. Army's primary forcible entry unit, the 82nd Airborne is built to seize airfields, ports, and critical infrastructure within hours of arrival. In a hypothetical Iran scenario, these capabilities could enable U.S. forces to secure key coastal access points and strategic energy sites, establishing an early lodgment for follow-on forces while shaping the conditions for a broader campaign. The U.S. Army's 82nd Airborne Division is being positioned as a key rapid response force amid rising tensions with Iran, with elements of its immediate response force on standby for deployment to the Middle East. This movement coincides with the deployment of Marine Expeditionary Units to the region, strengthening U.S. capacity for joint forcible entry operations. In a potential scenario, these forces could be used to secure critical objectives such as maritime choke points or strategic infrastructure, providing Washington with flexible military options in a rapidly evolving crisis. Recent U.S. force posture adjustments indicate that a brigade combat team, supported by elements of division headquarters, could be deployed as an initial entry force. This development, reported in March 2026 amid growing instability in the Gulf region, underscores the division's role as a scalable tool for immediate crisis response, capable of transitioning from deterrence to limited objective combat operations. Headquartered at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, the 82nd Airborne Division is the U.S. Army's primary global response force under the 18 Airborne Corps. Its structure includes 3 infantry brigade combat teams, a combat aviation brigade, a division artillery headquarters, a sustainment brigade, and a wide array of enabling units, including engineers, intelligence, electronic warfare, cyber, and short-range air defense elements. Recent force design updates have reinforced its multi-domain integration with expanded ISR capabilities, improved counter-UAS defenses, and enhanced digital command and control systems to support joint operations in contested environments. The division's core maneuver elements remain the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Infantry Brigade combat teams, each composed of parachute infantry battalions supported by reconnaissance, fires, engineer, and sustainment elements. At full strength, the division fields approximately 18,000 to 20,000 personnel, while a brigade combat team typically ranges between 3,500 and 4,200 troops, depending on task organization and attached enablers. Division headquarters and troops account for an additional 1,000 to 1,500 personnel, enabling command and control of joint and coalition operations. A more precise breakdown of a standard 82nd Airborne Infantry Brigade combat team reflects current U.S. Army force design and highlights its deployable combat mass. Infantry Brigade combat team, approximately 3,800 to 4,200 personnel. 3 parachute infantry battalions, each about 650 to 750 troops. 3 rifle companies, 1 weapons company, headquarters element. 1 cavalry reconnaissance squadron, about 450 to 600 troops. 3 reconnaissance troops, 1 weapons troop, UAV, and surveillance elements. 1 field artillery battalion, about 450 to 500 troops. 18 M119A 3 105mm howitzers organized in 3 firing batteries. Fire direction and targeting elements integrated with joint fires. 1 Brigade Engineer Battalion, about 650 to 700 troops. Engineer Company for Mobility and Breaching. Military Intelligence Company for ISR and Targeting. Signal Company for Communications and Network Operations. Headquarters and Support Elements. 1 Brigade Support Battalion, about 650 to 750 troops. Logistics, maintenance, medical, and forward support companies. At the division level, key enablers expand operational reach and sustainability. Combat Aviation Brigade, approximately 2,500 to 3,000 personnel. UH-60 Black Hawk Assault Battalions. CH-47 Chinook Heavy Lift Elements. Aviation Support and Maintenance Units. Division Artillery Headquarters. Coordinates fires across brigades. Integrates joint and coalition fire support, including air and naval fires. Sustainment Brigade. Approximately 2,000 to 3,000 personnel. Theater logistics, supply chains, fuel, ammunition, and medical sustainment. Division-level enablers. Engineer units for airfield preparation, obstacle reduction, and survivability. Air defense units with short-range systems and counter-UAS capabilities. Signal units enabling secure communications and digital command networks. Military intelligence units providing ISR, targeting, and electronic warfare support. Each brigade combat team is composed of parachute infantry battalions supported by reconnaissance squadrons, artillery battalions, and logistics units. This organization enables autonomous brigade-level operations immediately after insertion. The division's defining characteristic is its ability to conduct vertical envelopment through air assault operations and rapidly transition to air-land reinforcement, thereby bypassing traditional entry points and establishing combat power deep inside contested territory. The 82nd Airborne's combat capability is built around speed, surprise, and concentrated light infantry firepower. Its soldiers are equipped with M4A1 carbines, M249 and M240 machine guns, precision sniper systems, and anti-armor capabilities, including the FGM-148 Javelin and Carl Gustav recoilless rifle. Indirect fire support is provided by mortars and by M119 105mm howitzers, with the ability to integrate heavier M777 155mm artillery when attached. This provides responsive fires, but remains lighter than armored brigade firepower. Mobility and operational reach are enhanced through platforms such as the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle and the Infantry Squad Vehicle, both designed for rapid air deployment and immediate maneuver after landing. The division's Combat Aviation Brigade enables air assault operations, casualty evacuation, and logistical sustainment, significantly extending operational depth beyond initial insertion zones. These capabilities are integrated into the division's core mission of joint forcible entry operations. This includes helicopter-borne assaults into contested territory, rapid seizure of airfields and ports, and the establishment of lodgements to enable the introduction of follow-on heavy forces through air-land operations. In operational terms, the 82nd Airborne acts as the spearhead of U.S. ground intervention, securing the conditions necessary for sustained joint operations. The division's operational history over the past 3 decades demonstrates consistent employment in high-tempo expeditionary missions. It played a key role in Operation Desert Storm, conducted stabilization operations in the Balkans, and was heavily engaged in Iraq and Afghanistan, where it conducted counterinsurgency, urban warfare, and rapid reinforcement missions. More recently, its deployment to Iraq in 2020 and leadership of the Kabul evacuation in 2021 highlighted its ability to secure critical infrastructure under extreme operational pressure. In the context of a potential conflict with Iran, the 82nd Airborne Division would likely be tasked with missions requiring immediate tactical effect and strategic impact. These could include seizing critical oil export infrastructure, such as Karg Island, rapidly capturing airbases to enable the deployment of armored and mechanized reinforcements, or securing maritime choke points linked to the Strait of Hormuz. Such operations would aim to disrupt Iranian economic and military capabilities while establishing forward operating positions for sustained operations. Additional mission profiles could include reinforcing U.S. diplomatic compounds or military installations under threat, conducting non-combatant evacuation operations, or supporting joint efforts to neutralize Iranian anti-access and area denial systems. The division's ability to deploy, without reliance on existing regional basing infrastructure, provides a decisive advantage in scenarios where access is contested or denied. From a combat perspective, the 82nd Airborne's effectiveness lies in its ability to rapidly mass infantry combat power at decisive points, supported by precision fires and joint enablers such as close air support, ISR, and electronic warfare. However, its light infantry configuration also imposes structural constraints. The absence of organic heavy armor, limited protection, and relatively light artillery means that its survivability depends on speed, dispersion, and rapid reinforcement by heavier U.S. Army or Marine Corps units. Its air defense capability, while improving, remains limited against mass drone or missile saturation attacks. In a high-intensity scenario against Iran, these limitations would require careful operational design. Initial insertion phases would remain vulnerable, particularly in the presence of Iranian integrated air defense systems and missile capabilities. Once on the ground, the division would need to secure objectives quickly and establish defensive positions until reinforced by heavier forces, while sustainment constraints would become critical beyond the first 48 to 72 hours of operations. From an operational planning perspective, a potential U.S. seizure of Karg Island would represent a highly complex joint operation in which the 82nd Airborne Division would likely play a central, but not exclusive role. Karg Island, as Iran's primary oil export terminal, is assessed to be defended by a layered force including Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps naval units, coastal defense elements, and ground forces potentially numbering between 2,000 and 5,000 personnel. These could include IRGC naval infantry, regular army detachments, and local security units, supported by fortified positions around oil terminals, storage facilities, and port infrastructure. Iranian defensive capabilities on and around the island are likely to include short and medium-range air defense systems, anti-ship missile batteries, fast attack craft, armed drones, and the potential use of naval mines in surrounding waters. This creates a dense anti-access environment that would require extensive shaping operations prior to any insertion of U.S. forces. In a direct comparison, a single 82nd Airborne Brigade combat team deploying 3,500 to 4,000 highly trained paratroopers with integrated fires and aviation support would likely face an estimated 2,000 to 5,000 Iranian defenders on Karg Island, creating a numerically comparable but technologically asymmetric engagement favoring U.S. precision fires, ISR integration, and air dominance. In this context, the 82nd Airborne's most credible employment option would be a phased operation centered on precision air assault followed by rapid air-land reinforcement. Initial helicopter-borne insertions using UH-60 and CH-47 platforms would secure key objectives, including the Karg airstrip, port infrastructure, and command nodes. Once the airfield is secured, U.S. military transport aircraft, including C-17 and C-130, would land follow-on forces, artillery, and vehicles, enabling a rapid buildup of combat power on the island. Priority objectives would include the island's airstrip, port infrastructure, command nodes, and critical oil export facilities. Once inserted, brigade-level elements would conduct rapid clearance operations, isolate defensive pockets, and secure infrastructure against sabotage. The division's infantry units, trained for urban and complex terrain, would be well suited for operations in the dense industrial environment of Karg Island. However, the initial insertion phase would represent the highest risk window, as air assault forces remain vulnerable to residual air defense systems, drone attacks, and precision strikes before full control of the island is established. The Combat Aviation Brigade would enable continuous vertical maneuver, allowing rapid force repositioning and the exploitation of weak points in Iranian defenses. In parallel, U.S. Marine Corps units could apply pressure through maritime approaches, creating a multi-axis assault that complicates Iranian command and control. Sustaining control of the island would depend on rapid follow-on reinforcement. Within 24 to 72 hours, heavier forces would need to be introduced to secure the lodgment and deter counterattacks. The 82nd Airborne would transition into a holding role, defending key terrain against threats including missile strikes, drone swarms, and asymmetric naval attacks. From a strategic perspective, the seizure of Karg Island would deliver immediate economic and operational effects by disrupting a major portion of Iran's oil exports while establishing a forward U.S. position in the Gulf. However, it would also represent a significant escalation, exposing U.S. forces to sustained retaliation and requiring robust force protection and reinforcement. In this context, the U.S. Army 82nd Airborne Division serves as a decisive first-entry force, capable of translating strategic intent into immediate battlefield control, but only within a narrow window in which speed, surprise, and joint dominance can offset the risks of confronting a layered, determined Iranian defense.